You're listening to episode number 23 of the Play Your Position podcast.
Welcome to the Play Your Position podcast, where your story matters and we make it count. Here's your host, Mary Lou Kaser. Let's get started.
Boom shakalaka. Welcome to another week of the podcast that celebrates not only mastery, but achievement and, most importantly, personal stories. I am super excited to introduce to you my guest today, Mary Sheehan. Mary, are you ready for kickoff?
I'm ready for kickoff.
Outstanding. So outside of the School of Hard Knocks, Mary Sheehan graduated summa cum laude from Duquesne University in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, with a degree in pharmacy. She has been practicing pharmaceutical medicine for over 20 years and has also studied, applied, and taught to both the public and other professionals many modalities of complementary medicine. She lives with her husband and family in the beautiful city of Chicago, Illinois. Mary, welcome to the show. I have shared a little bit about you with the Play Your Position listeners, but I would love for you to elaborate more on how and why you chose to play the position of pharmacist.
Well, actually, I feel like in a way the position chose me. I loved science. I loved studying about healing. And interestingly enough, I thought if I became a pharmacist, I would learn all about how the body heals chemically and I would have all the answers I wanted. And as it turned out, that is not exactly what happened. I used to sit in pharmacy school, raise my hand and say, but we haven't cured diabetes. We've controlled it, but we haven't cured hypertension. We've controlled it. So although I didn't quite get what I wanted, but I got enough. I just still felt like that kind of black and white linear world was where I needed to be, at least for a while, at least for the past 20 years. I'm switching positions now, but for the first 20 years, was my calling.
So tell us more about what position are you switching into and what caused that decision to move out of something that you've obviously been very good at for quite some time, and now you're starting something new. Tell us that story.
Right, I was very good at it, had an incredibly successful career, but always felt that there was a part of me that I wasn't giving voice to. There was a part of me that wanted to play a different position, to use your metaphor. There was something else for me, but I had no idea what it was. And when I turned 40, I decided to start a reclamation project, which was me reclaiming my true position in life and what I was supposed to really be doing. And I met some people, I took some classes, I gave myself a lot of space for creativity. And then ultimately what happened was I got hit by a truck. I was in a bad car accident.
Oh, wow.
Right. When something like that happens, you have to be really serious now. Like, okay, now I had to stop. I had no choice. I was pretty broken, and really start to go with my intuition, follow my intuitive path, and make some real steps on reclaiming who I really was. So for me, it took an accident.
And sometimes a traumatic event like an accident or a death of a loved one or something sudden, even a natural disaster, is what it takes to propel us forward in our lives. And what you just shared is a common experience for people, not necessarily the accident, but that point in life when you're looking around and saying, okay, I have been wearing this same uniform and showing up to this same field for X number of years. In your case, it was 20 years. And I am done. I am ready for something new. But stepping off one field and going to another is not always a very simple and linear process. And so if you wouldn't mind, I'm going to just jump ahead to something because you're kind of taking me in that direction. And I think it's fascinating is, why do you think, Mary, that kind of decision to switch positions is so difficult for people? Why does it take this big outside force like the accident you had to kind of say, you got to do something different, girl. It's time.
Right? I think there's several reasons. I think we're creatures of habit, number one. And I am very much a creature of habit, and I love my creature comforts. I'm a Taurus, and we love to be very comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I was very comfortable with my income and my hours, and everything just kind of worked. I think that's a reason. Another reason, I think, is we are programmed away from and trained out of listening or seeing or feeling our own intuition. I think we have an internal guidance system, something that does know where our best position is during this lifetime. But from a very early age, we're trained away from that. And then how do you get back to that? How do you find that? And that's not easy. And I did try a lot of things and hired some people, but ultimately I think I was still not really being myself, is the best way that I can say. The biggest wake-up call I got from the accident was I wasn't being myself. And it seems so ridiculous, doesn't it, that we need to have wake-up calls to be ourselves, but we all know that that is so true in America today. We're so programmed away from owning our full potential and being who we are that that's what it sometimes takes, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it, unfortunately or not, it is what it sometimes takes. I also think some of those monumental birthdays you mentioned when you turned 40, you started to have some of those thoughts. And for women particularly, and I believe men as well, there are those milestone birthdays. And as our life extension increases in this country, and you know this from your work in the medical field, that our lives we are living longer in this country and worldwide in some countries because of modern medicine, because of the awakening to the need to take care of ourselves and exercise and eat properly and all that good stuff that comes with that message. But at the same time, when you have more years on this planet, you've got more space to fill. And to do the same thing for your entire life is really no longer the model. I mean, I think they say the average number of times we'll switch careers or avocations is 13 now. It used to be 7, but now it's up to 13. So our children and their generation is not going to stay static. You know, my father was a high school teacher for his entire career, from the time he graduated from graduate school and went to work and then retired. He was in the exact same building doing the exact same job. Now, he was very creative and loved what he did, but that's a rarity today. So you really represent that for women, especially that, 40, I'm going to change. And then you had the accident. So let's go down a little bit more into this new game that you're playing, Mary, and tell us, first of all, who has been an instrumental coach or mentor for you in repositioning yourself?
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. So I was going with my intuition because after the accident, I'm like, okay, I get it. I have a ton of fantastic material, great experience. I have things written down. I've done TV, I've done radio, I've done lectures, I've got all this material. What if there was someone out there that could help me develop it into something that I could offer? So I was just Googling something else on the internet and came across this coach. Her name was Susan Harrow, and I didn't know it at the time, thank goodness. I would have been intimidated, but she was a woman who used to help people get on Oprah. So her business was helping you structure your sound bites and come up with really brilliant products. So I talked to her. I just felt a connection. I hired her. We took all my years of work and developed some really fantastic programs, wrote a few little ebooks. And then I was like, okay, what do I do with this? So I had the products, which was fantastic because it was so healing for me to finally give voice to that part of myself. It was great. And so then I sat on that for a while because I didn't know what to do with it. Like, what do I do? So then I hired someone else that could help me learn about networking or marketing your products on the internet and all the various ways that you do that whole unknown, to me anyway. All I know is healthcare. I don't know marketing. I don't know sales. I don't know blogging and podcasting and videos. So then I hired someone to help with that as well. So 2 major coaches, I would say, that I've had.
Yes. And again, you are speaking to the reality of our times. The world has changed very quickly in the last few years. And people who have been experts or specialists like yourself in a certain area that can take all this material that you've got inside your head, the experiences that you've had, like through lecturing, through teaching, and now you want to bundle it up. Well, what do? Well, you've got to hire somebody who understands that space. And I've had previous guests talk about that they didn't just have one coach, but many, because depending on where you're at in the process of getting your message out there or your products, or if you're building up a service-based business, you have got to lean on the experience and wisdom of someone who's been there, done that, and has walked in the cleats, so to speak, down the tunnel, onto the field, gotten bruised and bloodied before you. So as you come along, you're the rookie, right? And they take you under their wing and say, listen, I'm not going to be able to protect you from getting hit or knocked down, or you're going to fumble the ball, but I've got what you need to learn, and you've got to get those scrapes and bruises. And so speaking of that, Mary, since we are in kind of the heart of the program and you are moving the chains of your new venture down the field, what would you say has been your biggest challenge other than just this new world of marketing? Has anything else stopped you from really moving forward?
Yes. Yes. To your point, I want to go back to this a little bit, because I think it's a sticking point for people. And it was for me initially to hire somebody, to hire the Susan Harrow, to then hire the Chris Gilbertson and her online Blueprint Lifestyle Academy. That wasn't of my world. We go to college, we get a piece of paper, we get a license, and we make money. It was an ego thing. I didn't understand. That seemed like, well, why would I spend money on that? But you just said it so beautifully, like someone who's been there and that can help you through it. So getting over myself in that way, investing in myself in that way, instead of floundering. I mean, I was 40. I don't want to keep floundering. So that was such a big hurdle. Then going through the learning curve with those women. I mean, Susan pushed me hard. Chris pushes me hard. You have a good coach. They want the best in you. And that is going to get you out of your comfort zone, which is not fun, but they hold you accountable. And that's where the growth happens. It's like working out. You're not going to build muscle unless you push yourself. You're not going to build your business unless you push yourself. So they were my coaches and created boundaries for me that I had to break through, which is great. That's what you want. And then most recently, I come up across my own fears and misgivings about myself and doubt and all those things. I mean, I think Susan said it so beautifully. You are the strongest force you know. And when you come up against yourself like that, that's where the rubber meets the road. And the true test separates the women from the girls, right? Are you going to go past your own, even going past yourself in a way? You become your best friend and your own worst enemy. And I've never had that come so real for me as through this process. And it's necessary. It's absolutely necessary.
It absolutely is necessary. And there is no way around it. And you spoke to fear. How many times have people let fear stop them from moving down towards something that they say they want? They've articulated it, and yet, not quite ready. Well, not being ready and fear are two of the biggest obstacles that prevent people from fully living or playing full out. And I love that word boundaries that you brought up too, because I think there's this misconception that anything goes anymore because of the internet, because of all these new technologies that are allowing us to communicate and broadcast and talk about things in a way that we've never seen in human history. And yet, if you don't provide yourself with those boundaries or have a coach set those boundaries for you, you're going to be all over the place. 1 minute you're going to be in Autzen Stadium, and the next minute you're going to be in Yankee Stadium, and then you're going to be up in New England and maybe even across the pond. I mean, it's just, you've got to set those boundaries or have them set for you so you can focus on not only the product or service you're building out, but on your internal growth, which you just spoke about so eloquently. That's what stops most people, is the best friend comes up against the worst enemy, and it's in the mirror every morning looking back at you, right?
Exactly.
So that was great, Mary. Thank you for sharing with us that insight. I would love for you to now talk about a time, maybe in the last couple of years, as you've been in this position of finding your new purpose and establishing yourself in this direction. Where do you see yourself now that you know that these fears and your worst enemy is also your best friend within you? Where do you see yourself in another year from now with what you're doing?
I will definitely be established with my courses and intuition. I'm going to be teaching people how to trust and hone their intuition so that you kind of become your own guru and your own master, helping people lay really solid groundwork for that so that they can see the signs everywhere and know what they mean and apply them so that they can get the success and happiness that they want. So I'm going to definitely be expanding that insofar as classes online, some podcasting, some blogging, just everything around that, helping people own their intuition and what a great gift it is and helping them open it for their good and the good of everyone around them.
Fantastic. And that's not something that you're going to find available every day in the marketplace, right? So you'll be able to really position yourself as that go-to person who can help people really connect on that intuitive level, which we all have. But again, you mentioned earlier, our school system, our basic model that's presented to young people is you go to school, you get the piece of paper, you go to work, you make the dollar, rather than how do you learn to listen to that little voice inside you and use it for bigger things? So I'm super, super excited for you. And speaking of excitement, I think it's time that we take the ball into the end zone and score a touchdown.
Okay.
So, Mary, you are in the red zone, and there are less than 30 seconds left on the clock. You are down by 4 points. It's third down. It's now or never. Tell us a story about a time when you overcame this obstacle and ran the ball into the end zone for a touchdown that won the game for you.
Just recently, a few weeks ago, a family member had passed away, and I got a very strong intuition that I was supposed to write a eulogy for her, which was very challenging because I didn't know her that well. But I had asked for guidance. I woke up, fully formed eulogy in my head, wrote it down, showed it to the family. And it was really, really tough to do that. It was really putting myself out there. But I'm like, this is what we're talking about, right? If you're going to be yourself, this is what yourself would do, Mary. Yourself would write a eulogy, show it to people, and get up and give it. Hardest thing ever because it's my family. Fear of judgment, fear of being perceived as a whack job for having received this and, this kind of fully formed eulogy, and just had such a strong connection with this woman I didn't know who's now passed, feeling her presence, going with my intuition. And there was just tremendous healing, not only for her children and her husband and a lot of people that listened to those words that she and I kind of wrote together, but tremendous healing for me. It's even hard to explain. And it seems like something that I could have easily passed over. Well, that's silly. Why would I get that information? I am in no position. I have no business writing this eulogy, no position to speak like this, but something inside me said, but you must. And so I followed it because I'm tired of not following it. I'm tired of paying the price for not following it. And it was hard to explain how beautiful of a moment that was for all of us.
Well, I'll tell you, I just got chills down my spine as you told that story because of a number of reasons. One, just the fact that you really are an intuitive and a medium, that you are given these bursts of insight and inspiration and are able to really produce something from that is healing. That makes a difference, that brings people together. And also, I really appreciate your transparency and how frightening that was for you because of the fear of judgment, the fear of what other people are going to think about you, which again is something that stops so many people in their tracks and doesn't allow them to get that ball, cross the plane into the end zone and really give them that experience of I can do this and this matters. And look at what the outcome was. It was positive. It was a positive moment. And congratulations on that. I'm sorry for your loss, of course. And yet life is that series of letting go and then birthing something new from it. That's the process. And
it is funny how I thought it's the fear, like you said, like I'm going to be kicked off the team now. Because now that my team, my blood tribe, my family's going to see this part of me that I've kept hidden. Once they see this, I'm out. And that's the fear, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're out. And that is not what happened at all.
No, and that's the thing, is that we exercise our imagination, but we do it for the wrong visual. We imagine the worst instead of imagining the best. And if we could just train ourselves to use that visualization power, that amazing muscle called imagination,
right?
So many more beautiful things could come. And I'm not saying that, you can imagine something and then it's going to magically happen. That I'm not saying that at all, because it doesn't. Sometimes
you're saying catch yourself.
Right.
Like you're like, that's what you do. Like you catch yourself when you're imagining the worst outcome. Like, well, that's an imagining. Well, let's give our minds something else to imagine. That's all you're saying. I think give it equal playtime, perhaps.
Absolutely. But again, our culture is one that focuses so much on negativity, especially in the media. That's what sells. That's what gets people stirred up and sends them off to the stores to shop to kind of soothe the sadness and depression that they feel because of all this negative news. And so anything else, you and I and anybody listening today has the power within us to exercise our imaginations in a way that lead to positive things, rather than constantly coming up against that terror barrier and stopping us in our tracks and not allowing us to really experience what perhaps we're meant to do. Well, we are at that point in the show, Mary, where I would love for you to share with listeners 1 to 3 key offensive strategies straight out of the Mary Sheehan playbook that listeners could implement right away to start moving the chains of their lives and or businesses forward.
A good thing to do would be to find a space and time and place in your own home to honor your intuition, be it creating a little sacred space where with some candles or images, whatever inspires you, and look at that a couple times a day, sit there, do some journaling, just honor that space within you. Also, I would suggest that you start to listen. First of all, realize how intuition speaks to you. If it's visions that you have, dreams, that soft, silent voice, or however it is, to begin to allow that to have a space by listening and saying, okay, asking for guidance and then waiting for your own guidance to come. So I don't know how many things that is, but that's basically what I would say that people do, finding ways to honor their own intuitive abilities. Tune into that a little bit, acknowledge it, give it a space, listen, hear, see, however it manifests for you. And then I would say, and start to act on it a little bit like I did. The intuition was not only here it is for you, it's come. Okay, so I've got the information. I thought you made this great point. So I've got the information. I've got this eulogy. Let's do something with it. That's where we get stuck. I know this is going to happen, but I'm not going to act on it. I have a feeling about this, but I don't act on it. No, I'm going to stop that pattern right now. I have a feeling about this. I'm going to start trusting this. I'm going to start trusting my inner wise woman. I'm going to act on it. That's where the magic happens.
That is where the magic happens. Could not agree more. How many times have we not listened to our intuition, and that's when things go cattywampus, right? But when
and we're so sad, and we're like, oh, the universe is conspiring against me. No, you just didn't follow your own. Didn't follow your own intuition. You had it, girl. Do something with it.
That's right. Take action. Move forward. Even if it's a yard, you can still get that first down with a couple of yards at a time. So don't be afraid to take action. And then the other key word in what you just said, Mary, that I want to reemphasize, that is, let's go do this. Jim Rohn teaches that principle. Let's do it. Not you do it, not I do it. Let's do it. It's a together thing. It's a team thing. It cannot be done alone. No matter what you're doing, you're going to have to reach out and get some people that will be on this parallel journey, whether it's hiring a coach, whether it's finding a mentor, whether it's calling up some friends and saying, we need to get together and hash this out. I need your brain power. Whatever it looks like, it's got to be a let's and not an I.
Yep. I say that all the time. I have Team Sheehan. Team Sheehan changes. I trade players, but there's always the team. I respect the team. I give to the team gives to me. Crucial. Absolutely.
Love that. So, Mary, what is the best way for people to connect with you online? Where are you hanging out these days?
Well, my website, which is evolving, it's prescriptionsforhappiness.com. That's prescriptions for happiness, FOR, happiness spelled the regular way.com. And you can send me an email at mary@prescriptionsforhappiness.com if you want a strategy or a discovery session. If you'd like to discover more about your intuition, we can have a little talk about that.
Excellent. And listeners, you know that all of what Mary has shared today, including the links to connect with her, can be found over at the show notes page at maryloukaiser.com/Mary, and that's Mary. And Mary, I just want to tell you that this has been so much fun, and I learned some things from you today, which I always appreciate, and I really look forward to seeing how your journey into teaching and coaching people how to be more intuitive and how to really listen to that very powerful voice that lives inside each of us can start making big changes for them with the work that you do. So thank you again so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Hey team, thanks for joining me for another episode of the Play Your Position podcast, the place where stories matter and we make yours count. Make sure to subscribe to the show in iTunes if you haven't become a subscriber already, so you never miss another episode. Question: are you on our email list? If not, you're missing out on your chance to win a $25 Amazon gift card every third Thursday of the month when we give one away to a lucky subscriber. Would your month be a little better with a $25 gift card to use on Amazon? Go now to maryloukaiser.com/subscribe to find out more. Again, that's maryloukaiser.com/subscribe.
Thanks for listening to the Play Your Position podcast, where your story matters and we make it count at maryloukaiser.com.